So, welcome, Sally and Yad, to the Zoom room again. Nice to see you here. So, if you want to, we were talking about the prayer to be truly helpful. Your question was, what do you do in an instance where someone is heading for a fall, about to hit the wall at high speed, and you don't seem to be able to do very much to help? I think this prayer is the answer. So, do you want to read that, Sammy?
Yeah. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent the pure, formless awareness of perfect love within me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because this awareness will direct me. This awareness will direct me. I am content to be wherever it wishes, knowing it goes there with me. I will be healed as I let it teach me to heal. Yeah, beautiful. I stumbled over the bit where it said awareness will direct me, didn't I? That was the bit.
Yeah, interesting. Notice these subtleties. So that's in every email that I send out, along with the link. So if you click on that, you can go and read the whole thing. That's the whole special principles of miracles. He says you can do much on behalf of your own healing, that of others. If in a situation calling for help, you think of it in this way: I'm here only to be truly helpful. And that's just a translation of the original. So you could use the original or the translation, whichever you prefer. And then, if you say that sincerely, then trust that you'll be given the guidance. Whatever you need to do, you'll get the kind of impulse. Something will happen to show you, what to do. And that voice of the Holy Spirit or intuition is what we've got to learn to tune to. To learn to discern, okay, yeah, that's the voice. I've kind of locked onto that. I can hear the voice for God, and I'm genuinely listening to this true voice, and it's not the ego masquerading as it. And so, this is why we do all the spiritual practice. So we can really tune in and go, yeah, that voice is the correct one. That's what feels right. And we're not confused anymore. So it's getting tuned in to the one frequency and listening only to that. And, as Yeshua says, that takes a great deal of training. This is to undo the ego completely and listen to only one voice that speaks for another transcendent dimension in the world that is denied that dimension is our task as spiritual people awakening on the spiritual journey. So I think if you say that prayer sincerely, say it every day, you make it part of, I don't know if you make it part of your routine, but it's there every day. So I'm saying, well, I think it's a really, really useful prayer, just really the prayer for the day. Let me be truly helpful. How can I be truly helpful in any situation in which I find myself? If I've set that intention up front, then I can remember that, and the Holy Spirit can come in and use your mind as an instrument of itself.
Thank you.
And I can say, and then any specific guidance will come, from that attitude. Yeshua never talks in specific. He never says, "We'll do this or do this." So you listen to the guide, and the guide will show you what to do. And that, in my experience, that always feels quite peaceful. It's never interbulated. It's never desperate. It's always quite a kind of peaceful, gentle presence. But quite, it can be quite powerful and firm as well. It's like, okay, there we go. It's a very clear message. And if you listen to it, and miracles do happen. And I'll tell you, I'm not sure I've shared this experience, but I'll share it. If I have, then I apologize, but I don't think I've shared it with you. So about was it May last year? I had a situation where I was owed some money it was for a corporate finance deal that I'd done, and a lawyer had got involved because the company who'd actually I'd been working for got liquidated. The partners had fallen out, and so they got liquidated, and he'd been appointed by the liquidator to kind of sort out this transaction. But then he, self-appointed kind of person was saying, no, well, I'm not going to pay out as agreed. We had an agreement in place to govern the distribution of commission. There were a few parties involved, which I'd actually drafted. I'd written it, and so this guy was going, no, I'm not going to pay out. You've got to pay liquidation costs. And I'm going, it's not our responsibility to pay the liquidation costs of this company. That's for the company's account, and the company is making money from this. So I was kind of wrestling with this, what should I do? And, one part of me was like, well, fight this. And another part was kind of going, just let it go. And it's so interesting. You have such clarity sometimes that I remember exactly the moment I was standing chopping vegetables. I'm chopping vegetables for salad. And then suddenly it was like so clear. It was like, just let it go. It was like a clear voice. Just let it go. Leave it to me and I'll sort it out. It was very like clear, calm instruction. Just let it go. Except because he'd made an offer like of a lesser amount, and I had to basically take a cut of about £7,000 on what I should have been owed according to the agreement that we'd signed. But it was like, let it go, leave it, and it was so clear, and it was like, okay, I really, that's so clear. I can't ignore this anymore. I'm not confused anymore. There's no interbulation. And so I did. I was like, okay. I sent him a message. I said, okay, I accept your offer. And then his offer was about to expire because he'd put in a sort of self-imposed deadline. And so, within about 24 hours, I got paid. Not as much as I, thought my ego thought I should have got, but I got paid a substantial amount, which then allowed me to go down to the Vipassana retreat, and I had a profound spiritual experience there. And I happened to meet a chap there on the first day who put me in touch. He connected me with a friend of his, which has turned into a potential corporate finance deal. It's actually now in the process of final due diligence, and it might end up being, a lot more money that I'll earn from that. But I had to trust, it was like a clear, like, just trust me, let it go. And that chap, the lawyer, died 2 months later of COVID. So if I'd held on and I hadn't taken the money, I probably would have got nothing, because it would have all gone into his estate. So it was like the Holy Spirit knows, and it was just such clear guidance. And I listened, because I'm like, well, what can I do? I've got to walk the talk here, and that does feel right. It just feels. It feels right. It feels peaceful. It feels calm. Okay, I'm going to go with that and take the financial hit. But then, is it really? Because of that sequence of events, I might actually end up getting a lot more money down the line. But obviously, at that point, you don't know. The Holy Spirit just tells you what you need to know at the time. It doesn't tell you the whole picture and say, well, do this because of this and this and this, and this is what's going to unfold. It just says, do this. And then it's, do you have the faith to trust that voice? Or will you second guess it and doubt it and go, no, I want to do it my way. There was another guy, there were three of us who were involved, involved in this situation, who were being done out of commission. And the one guy insisted that he was going to fight it. And I don't think he got anything out of it. He didn't accept the payment because the guy died, and it was like a mess. It's now an estate, and because he was no, I'm going to get all of it. and he wasn't willing to just go, okay, we'll just, take what you can get and let it go. So it was a good lesson, and yeah, we'll see. Unfolding miracle. We'll see what happens in the next few months, because if it happens, it'll be like, wow. I mean, that's just so miraculous. Who would have expected that you'd get a multi-million-dollar corporate finance deal on a Vipassana retreat? Like, it's just like that. But this is how the spirit works. And I also, on that Vipassana retreat, and I was tempted to we had an afternoon where I could have like held onto my phone and kind of carried on this messaging, and something in me was like, no, just, go into it, and that's it. I gave all my, basically you have to give away all of your electronic devices. It's like you put them in storage, you're not going to see them again for 10 days. So it's a complete digital detox. And I could have held on to it for another couple of hours, because they only officially started the retreat in the evening, like at 5 or 6. But something in me was like, just, okay, you're here, it's a beautiful place, just immerse yourself in this. And because of that, I had the time. I was chatting to this guy. I met him in that window. So there were a number of letting go things that I had to do for this opportunity to come. And actually, that's why I think it'll probably work, because it was based on this philosophy of letting go, and that's what brought about the opportunity. It was no conscious manifestation. Oh, I'm trying to consciously manifest a corporate finance deal on a Vipassana retreat. That wasn't at all. It was just, okay, I let go in a couple of ways, and then the opportunity just unfolded. So in terms of manifestation and the law of attraction and all of that, this is way more powerful. If you really let go and you really trust that voice, it will show you what, and it will bring you what you need to, what needs to be brought. And if that includes financial abundance or corporate finance deals or money or opportunities or whatever, then it'll include that. And you just trust the voice. It knows. So it's like miracles are another level above conscious manifestation, because there's no conscious intention to create anything on the level of form. You're just trying to let go and trust the process. And then you're allowing the miracle to unfold, however it will unfold. So it's asking you to completely trust and say, look, just if I say it's going to be okay, leave it to me. Then just trust me, it will be, because this is the infinite, ultimate power of behind everything, and we've got to learn to listen to that and trust that. So that was a very powerful learning experience I had, and I'm very grateful in hindsight to the lawyer for giving me the opportunity to learn that lesson. It was all part of the learning of the experience, which I can now share, and so it's all fine. It's all okay, and nothing's really lost. I only gained in that experience. Even if I never get the money back, it was absolutely what was very clear to me in that decision was what's your priorities? Money your priority or spirit? Because you can only honor one master here. You can't honor both. And sometimes that's a choice we have to make. And Yeshua was very clear. He said, you can't honor God and Mammon. Mammon was the word he used for the illusion, the false god of the ego. So, final answer to your question, just really trust, have absolute faith. You'll be guided. Whatever you need to do in that situation playing out, you will be guided to do it when you need to do it, not before, not afterwards, but when you need to do it. You get the guidance, and it'll come very clearly, and then you need to step up and act on it. If it requires action, then you need to do it. So you're ready. There was a parable Yeshua told where he said, you need to have your wicks trimmed, your lamps filled and your wicks trimmed, ready for the coming. So in other words, you're in a state of vigilance. You're aware, and you're ready for the message. You're ready for the guidance to come. But if you're practicing this program, and you're practicing these course lessons, these workbook lessons, then you're preparing yourself. You should be in a state of high awareness and vigilance. for those messages to come through, and then you can recognize them, and then you can act pretty quickly. Okay, I'm not dilly-dallying here. I get the message, and pretty much, yeah, I think that evening I sent him an email and said, okay, that's it. I'm not hanging around. The decision's made. And so you can actually be pretty decisive when you hear that guidance, because it'll give you a very clear, as I said yesterday, decision means to cut away. So you're cutting away one option and you're choosing one very decisively. And that gives you clarity, and it brings peace. You're like, okay, well, I've decided. There's no doubt anymore. I'm going down one way, and so be it. I'm cutting away the other path. That's now closed. And trusting that, it's the right guidance. And even if it doesn't seem to be, if it was done in the right spirit, then it will be, because it's going to play out in a way that's there for your highest good. It may test you and challenge you, but then that's part of your hero's journey. Then that's what you needed. So it doesn't always mean things are going to be easy and smooth, but it means that this is the path that's the Spirit's forging for you, for your awakening. It's trying to help you awaken through this. And if you want that, you have to be careful what you ask for. You ask for awakening. So, okay, you really want awakening then? Okay, really? All right. Then the lessons are going to come, because you have to let the entire ego go. So there are times. I mean, if you recall in the Matrix, it was classically shown. You remember that scene where he's been phoned by Morpheus. The phone's literally been delivered. It's like, okay, he gets the call. It's like, right, you got to run, and you just follow me out. You got to go out the window, because these guys will go after you, and you've got to go around the building and onto the scaffolding. And as he's about to go out the window, he's going, this is crazy. Why is this happening to me? I didn't ask for this. So that's the resistance. He actually did. He's been asking for it his whole life, and now it's there. There's an initial resistance. Like, actually, I don't like this, because the status quo has just changed dramatically. And I thought I wasn't asking for that, but actually he was asking for that. In order for the matrix to be revealed, the status quo has to be upset. It's just, that's how it has to happen. And so then the status quo is being disturbed. You have to accept that that's part of the process, and it's all good, because the status quo needs to change in order for you to learn to move from the known world to the unknown world. You've got to move out of the known world, and something's got to be the catalyst for that. So then the status quo changes. And initially in the hero's journey, there's a resistance. Usually Joseph Campbell noticed that there's usually a refusal of the first call. Oh no, I don't want to do that. But then the hero gets another chance and subsequently does it. Okay, so shall we have a look at today's quote then?
Sorry, I have to go now. Thank you very much.
You have to go. Okay, well, that was short and sweet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And maybe see you Thursday. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, okay. Bye, Ed. Okay, so Sally, if you can, you're just relocating.
Yeah, sorry, somebody just came to the door.
Have a read of that quote from Ken Wilber.
Okay. I have a body, but I am not a body. I can see and feel my body, but what can be seen and felt is not the true seer. My body may be tired or excited, sick or healthy, heavy or light, but this has nothing to do with my inward I. I have a body, but I am not my body. I have desires, but I'm not my desires. I can know my desires, and what can be known is not the true knower. Desires come and go, floating through my awareness, but they do not affect my inward I. I have desires, but I am not desires. I have emotions, but I am not my emotions. I can feel and sense my emotions. What can be felt and sensed is not the true feeler. Emotions pass through me, but they do not affect my inward I. I have emotions, but I am not emotions. I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. I can know and intuit my thoughts, and what can be known is not the true knower. Thoughts come to me and thoughts leave me, but they do not affect my inward eye. I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. It's quite a mouthful, but yeah.
A long quote. I sort of thought about sharing it, but I was like, well, it's all good. He's talking about desires, emotions, thoughts, starting with the body, saying, well, I'm none of this. This isn't who I really am. I have them. I seem to have them. It's a temporary experience of a thought, of an emotion, of a desire, of a sense perception, a sensation in the body. I seem to have that. But if you notice, these things are so fleeting. They come and they go, don't they? It's in Buddhism they call it anicca. It's just this impermanence. It's like something arises and then it passes away. And sometimes that happens in a few seconds. Sometimes it takes a bit longer. But that's the nature of the illusion. It's arising and passing away all the time. Nothing's really permanent. So it's kind of floating through your awareness, as he says, your pure formless awareness. But it doesn't really affect that awareness. It doesn't really affect the inward eye, which is the capital self, which is the Christ, that knows that it is that awareness, that knows that its identity is rooted in the awareness beyond form, and isn't actually affected by any of this flux and change. And so it all just kind of blows through your mind. It's like, yes, even enlightened beings, they have thoughts that come and go, and they even have some desires, they come and they go, but they just don't hang on to any of it. It's like they just observe it, they watch it, and go, oh, okay, well, that arises and then it passes away, and they just kind of get good at doing that, just being the witness of all of this movement just happening. And that that's the kind of spiritual technology behind the Vipassana meditation. It's just observing. You stay as the pure witness and you observe the thoughts, the emotions, the desires, the cravings, the feelings, whatever's arising. You just observe it and you go, okay, it's arising and it's passing away. And if I observe it for long enough, it's going to pass away. That's not going to stay. And so just by staying in that witnessing state, you're allowing it just to arise and pass away, which is a form of letting go. You could argue it's one of the simplest forms, because there's no conscious choice to let it go. Just by witnessing it, you allow it to arise and you allow it to pass away, and you just observe how that happens. So it's almost like life is happening to you through you, but the form of your life is not you, which is what this quote is trying to teach us. Okay, so if you read the paragraphs there.
Today's inspirational quote by Ken Wilber, probably the world's best known and most how do you say that? Erudite living philosopher, expresses the essence of what has come to be known as the Perennial Philosophy, because it's a timeless, universal truth, and that all the great spiritual teachings and teachers have taught throughout the ages. What does this philosophy say? And you may well ask. I thought the best way to answer this was to paraphrase a quote by Eckhart Tolle. You are not your thoughts, emotions, sense perceptions, and experiences. You are not the content of your life. You are the pure formless awareness that underlies the body and all your sense perceptions, as well as all the thoughts and emotions they seem to cause. You are the essence of life itself, the essence of the eternal now moment, and ultimately, you simply are what cannot be named or described.
Yeah, so that's in the Perennial Philosophy, is this universal truth that permeates through all of these spiritual teachings, and that there's one truth, and one way of stating it. There could be others, but It's really saying this is reality. This is who you really are, and it's not affected by any of these shifts and changes. And so, A Course in Miracles is just another version of the Perennial Philosophy. It's there for us to learn from. And
Yeah.
Ken Wilber it as well. So Ken Wilber studied all the different teachings, religions, psychology, philosophy, spirituality. Extremely, probably one of the most well-read men in the world, I would think. Just like huge intellect. And then he put it together into the integral model. He was the guy who created the integral model, which I've shared. And so he's writing this from that holistic point of view, saying, well, this is what all the great teachings are saying. You are not anything temporary. You are the awareness that underlies them, that's beyond them. We call that pure formless awareness of perfect love. That essence, that presence, that awareness, whatever you want to call it, actually has no name in truth. It's actually beyond naming it. We give it a name, but as Lao Tzu said, the great Chinese sage who wrote the Tao Te Ching, it's the Tao that can be described is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be spoken is not the eternal name. So as soon as you name it, it's not actually it. It's appointed to it, but it's not it. So whether you call it God, Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, Brahman, Tao, ground of being, it doesn't matter. Those are just pointers to the essence of what it is, which is nameless. There's no name for what is nameless, what transcends time and space and duality. You can't really frame that in words. Words are a construct of duality. So really it's pointing us to a universal experience. And the interesting thing is those three quotes are 2,500 years apart. And yet they're saying, really such similar things. You read this, and if you read all these great teachers and teachings, you start to see that really they're pointing to the same universal truth. It's timeless and it's universal. And it's just the way it's expressed and the language in which it's expressed that changes slightly, depending on the time and the teacher. But really this is the one truth that all the great spiritual masters have tapped into and have taught. And then it's those teachings have become the religions of our world. Buddhism and Christianity and Islam they came from a mystic who really went deep into the mystic experience of God, and then brought that revelation back to his society and said, well, here, I'm gonna teach this. And so Yeshua says, it's a universe. Do you want to read that? Universal theology.
A universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary.
So you're never going to come to a universal theology, which is a construct of the mind. Oh, okay, well, in this religion, God is this, and there's these forms of it and these names, and in another religion, it looks different. So that's impossible, because theology is involved with form. But a universal experience takes you beyond form into the formless, into the absolute truth. And that's not only possible, but it's necessary for awakening to happen. And so he's pointing us beyond theology, beyond words, beyond all dogma, with these profound words, to the actual experience of God. What does that pure formless awareness of perfect love actually feel like? So it's experiential, and that's how we learn, from experience.
Yeah, it feels very peaceful, doesn't it, when a thought comes and goes, without wrestling it to the ground or listening to it or following it down the rabbit hole. And it's pleasant that it just goes and you don't realize it's gone, and then you realize it's gone and the next one comes along. Yeah, it's nice being in that state.
Yeah. So you just, Yeshua said at one point in the Bible, he's quoted saying, no, sorry, it wasn't the Bible, it was in the Gospel of Thomas, be passers by. So what does that mean? Be passers by. It's just be the witness. Everything's just passing by. And you allow everything to pass by, and you don't attach to anything. You don't hold on to anything and go, oh, I'm gonna attach to that thought and make it mine and hold on to it. It's just like, no, everything's just passing by. So it's the nature of, you know, the illusion that everything's just passing by. But you just allow that. You don't resist it. You don't hold on. You just allow. Okay, thoughts come and they go, and you don't hold on to them. And that's living the art of letting go. Okay, as the stuff comes, and you let it go, and there's no attachment. It just, you observe it coming and you observe it going, and sometimes it needs a little help on the way because sometimes, you know, it gets a little sticky. But the more you practice it, the better you get it. Just, okay, things arise and they pass away, and that's how life works. You start to realize that life on the level of form is much happier, much more joyful, much more peaceful if you allow that process to happen. There's no holding on, there's no attachment, there's no stickiness. Just stuff arises and passes away. An experience arises, and it might be difficult, challenging, or it might be happy and joyful, and then it passes away, and then it's on to the next. And so you're kind of in the flow, but the awareness that underlies the flow is always there. And so that's the key, you know, to this seeming to being in the world but not of the world. You have that awareness as your foundational awareness, and then things arise within that awareness, and they come and they pass away, and you realize, I'm not any of these things. But you know, I'm still having the temporary experience of them, but I'm not attached to it. I'm actually rooted in my true awareness, which knows that none of these things are permanent and real, and I can't really get attached to any of it. It knows that its awareness is the only truth, and so it's self-aware. It's aware of itself, and that is your awakening. If you can stay rooted in that presence, that awareness, nothing here is really going to bother you too much. It's just arising and it's passing away, and you recognize the transitory, illusory, impermanent nature of it. And you don't resist that. You go, well, that's just how it is. Like, I can't hold on to anything here because it's not designed that way. If I try and hold on to what's impermanent, I'm going to suffer because it's impermanent by nature. But what's permanent is that which is aware. So it's important to remain rooted in that awareness and identify with that, which is why Yeshua is saying, well, you know, be aware, be aware of this awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, we call it, and the Holy Spirit, which connects you with that awareness, and the Christ self, which is the identity that has this awareness. And if you lose sight of that and you're only in the impermanent, your spiritual practice is kind of at a dead end. So on the Vipassana retreat, it was very interesting because I chatted to the teacher. Because I'm like, okay, well, I want to kind of go under the hood of this thought system and let's understand what, she's been doing this 25 years for hours a day and like 60-day silent retreats. And I asked her a question. I said, do you believe there's anything other than anicca, then, the impermanent? And she said, no. Well, everything's impermanent. And I said, well, I can't agree with that. I said, what about God? What about some kind of permanent presence? And then she sort of backtracked a bit and said, well, I know, I kind of have a sense of, that I'm alive. I'm not dead. But clearly she hadn't really tapped into that awareness. Which was a bit of a red flag. I was like, okay, so you've done all of this for years and years, and yet you're not aware that you're aware. You're not aware that there's an awareness beyond the temporary, beyond the anicca, the impermanent. Because if you don't have that, then life's pretty desperate. If everything's just impermanent, you can hold on to nothing, and you're not aware of the awareness behind it, then it's all in the end decaying. It's all gonna die. That's not a particularly nice reality to be stuck in. So it's having the awareness underlying it is absolutely key, to then just observe the impermanent nature. It's coming and it's going, it's passing through, and then none of that really moves you. They were teaching a practice of being equanimous, so unshakable, unmovable. You're not moved by any of these things, which is really the ultimate forgiveness, isn't it? Because you're not having to actually let it go. You're just not moved by it. It comes and it goes, and you are never really moved out of your true awareness by whatever that temporary experience was, situation, event, thought, emotion, all of these, these things that Eckhart points to in this quote, which I paraphrased. The thoughts, the emotions, the body, the sense perceptions, all of that, none of it really moves you from your true awareness. You're still rooted in that, even while those things are kind of blowing through your mind. And that's the art of letting go, is to remain rooted in that deep awareness, even while you're operating in the world and these temporary things seem to come and go. But the deeper awareness is always with you, and you never lose that. Okay, so if you want to take a deep dive into the Perennial Philosophy, there's a little ebook. Not a little ebook, it's quite a long ebook, I think. How many pages is it? But it's all about the Perennial Philosophy. So if you want to go into some of this, you can do that. Otherwise, let's go into the lesson, shall we?
Yeah, I went for a walk this morning and went in my shorts and t-shirt, and it started to get really cold and rained. And I was just saying the lesson today, I'm not a body, I'm free. And I was just like noticing the cold rain running down the back of my neck and feeling like shorts wasn't quite the right thing to be wearing. And it just continued like that. And I recognized that in the past I'd have gone, oh, I'm not wearing enough clothes, or should I go home? And all these sort of different conversations you can have. And I just kept saying, I'm not a body, I'm free. And it just transitioned, and it was like, I want to say painless. Yeah, it was just interesting. It was very different than normal.
Yeah, well, that's the power of these simple ideas. It changes your state of mind, and so you respond differently instead of that
suffering.
chatter in the mind. It's like, I'm not a body, I'm free. Okay, that just connects you with that presence. It's not a body. It's like, actually, it doesn't really matter what sensations are going on in the body, because I'm not a body. So it's like cold rain, a little bit of cold. So you actually become pretty robust, in my experience. You're not really affected nearly as much by the physical stuff that goes on, weather and food and drink and all. It's like, well, because I'm not a body, I'm not really identified with that anymore. So I transcend it, and that's sort of the universal hallmark of a lot of spiritual teachers. Is they're just not attached to this stuff. So people go, wow, that's amazing. How do you do that? It's just because their mind is elsewhere. They're not focused on the body and the body's needs. They're rooted in that deeper awareness. And then the body's needs come and go. Okay, well, hungry, you eat. You can still kind of operate in it, but without really making it important or real. It's like, okay, well, it's a bit of hunger, so I'll eat. But it's not like food becomes something like really important, and you spend a whole lot of time and energy and attention on it, and you just, okay, it becomes quite practical. That's my experience anyway. And a lot of the the passions and the interests of the ego just disappear, because you're like, well, why would I be interested in food, particularly when I'm not a body? None of it's real. So the whole like foodie thing and I really get it. It just like, it kind of disappears a bit. You're just like, well, I'm not really that bothered, because it's not true and it's not real. So if there's nice food, great, and if there's not nice food, that's still okay. And if there's no food, that's also okay. It's all okay, because I'm not a body. I'm not identified with it. Okay, so very simple lesson.
Yeah, been looking forward to this one. Okay, I am not a body, I am free. Freedom must be impossible as long as you perceive a body as yourself. The body is a limit. Who could seek for freedom in a body looks for it where it cannot be found. The mind can be made free when it no longer sees itself as in a body, firmly tied to it and sheltered by its presence. If this were the truth, the mind were vulnerable indeed.
Okay, so any thoughts on that? Maybe a couple of little tweaks we can make to that. I think we're going to change sees to perceives. Who would seek? Who wants to seek for freedom in a body? Looks for it where it cannot be found. So it's so clear. I mean, this is one of the most explicit lessons in the course. Saying, I'm not a body. I'm free. So any kind of body identification that he's saying is false and incorrect. Because the body is a limit, and you can't find freedom in identifying with a limit.
It's also a tough one. It's also a tough one, isn't it? To master.
Well, it's almost the ultimate lesson. I'm not a body. So then what am I if I'm not a body? Because then I must be something that's intangible. I must be the awareness or the spirit that underlies it. So Yeshua understands that if you remove your identification from the body, then what's going to reveal itself is the spirit. Just by default, because there's something else there, but you have to let go of the one. As he says, the mind can be made free when it no longer perceives itself as in a body, firmly tied to it and sheltered by its presence. This were the truth, the mind were vulnerable indeed. This were the truth. This was the truth. The mind. If this were the truth, the mind would be vulnerable indeed. I think that's a little bit better. What do you think? Sounds better.
Yeah. You need indeed on it. If this were the truth, the mind would be vulnerable. Indeed. Yeah, all right. The other bit where it says, who wants to seek for freedom in a body? Who wants to seek freedom for a body? Is it not who seeks for freedom in a body? Because we don't go about thinking we want to find freedom, do we? We just seek it.
Yeah, maybe we can just make it simpler. Who seeks for freedom? Who would seek? Who seeks for? I think that's simpler.
Yeah.
Who seeks for freedom in a body? So how do you think people seek for freedom in a body?
People want to try and lose weight. They want to get fit. They want to do all these sort of things with the body, so they feel free or feel better for doing it. But it's the inner world, the mind, that needs to be freed.
Yeah. So anything related to form. I'm trying to find some kind of freedom, some kind of liberation in form by changing my body, by making it fitter, longer, fitter, stronger, leaner, sexier, more attractive, more plastic surgery. I mean, the things go on. these are all attempts to find freedom in a body, which he's saying is delusional. You're never going to find it. So just perceive it correctly, and then it can be useful. It's a healthy, functional instrument that can remain. It's like a vehicle. You're not your car. You don't misidentify yourself as with your car. Some people do, but that's just even more delusion. You're not your car. It's just a vehicle. It does something. It gets you from A to B. The difficulty with the vehicle that we're in is our minds seem to be really attached to it. So wherever the body goes, our mind is there, and it has perceptions associated with this body thing. It's quite ingenious, really, if you think of what the ego's done, to attach us, to invent a body, and then attach our minds to a body, to convince us that we are a separate self. This is what's really going on. And he's saying, just don't believe it at all. It's not true. Because if it were the truth, if our minds were tied to a body and sheltered by its presence, some teachers are like, well, the body is kind of the holder of the mind. So the mind resides within the body, and the body is the mind's home. You're saying, well, if this were the truth, the mind would be vulnerable indeed, because the body is subject to age and decay and suffering and sickness and ultimately death. And so if the mind is housed in the body, then the mind must die too. So the conception of modern scientific materialism is that our consciousness is in our brains. And when the brain dies, so the body dies, the brain dies, then our consciousness dies, and it's end of. Because the brain is the source of consciousness, which is a pretty fearful idea, really, because it's like, okay, well, that's it. You've got a very short-lived window here. And so then what people do, if you believe that, is you go, well, I may as well make hay while the sun shines, and try and get as much pleasure here as I possibly can, because it's game over very soon, and my consciousness is going to come to an end. And so then you have this whole, you look at the way we live, most of the Western world, very unconsciously, very pleasure oriented. It's all about, what's in it for me? What can I get? Quick fix to get what I desire. And, our whole world economy is set up for that. Yes, you make money to get what you desire, and someone's going to sell you that. And it's all about instant gratification. And that comes from the scientific materialist paradigm that denies the truth of who you really are, denies that there's some eternal self, and denies that the body is the ultimate reality, and its desires are the ultimate, the thing that you should really be trying to satisfy in this world.
To most people, it would be unbelievable, though, wouldn't it, that we're not the body? If you just had a normal conversation with normal people, they'd think you completely lost the plot.
Oh, I guess it depends on how open they were. I mean, most people have had some exposure to some kind of spiritual teaching or religion. So it might not be an unfamiliar idea, but, even if they sort of go, yeah, okay, well, I'm the spirit, you're Christian, and you say I'm the spirit. If you're Buddhist, you would say I'm the mind. The way we kind of default to, the sort of modern religion is scientific materialism. That's kind of the default paradigm that most people believe in. That's actually the dominant religion in the world these days, which is really saying that just the external is real. The body's real. Whatever you can see, feel, measure, and touch is real, and everything else is not real, because you can't see it, feel it, measure it, and touch it. That's scientific materialism at its extreme. So most people by default just believe in it, although they wouldn't call it a religion. It actually is the dominant world religion. And of course, this flies in the face of that. It says, no, you're not a body. In fact, the material world doesn't actually exist. Because if you're not a body and the body is illusory, then that means that everything in that domain must also be illusory. And so it's a complete, turning around the entire thought system of the ego. And so, you know, that's why it's scary for people. They don't want to believe it because it totally turns their reality upside down. Look at the integral model. So this is Ken Wilber's conception. Observe behavior. So Flatland says only behavior and systems are real. Only what you can observe and is tangible and you can measure is real. And the intentional domains and the cultural domains do not exist. In other words, mind does not exist. It's a bizarre belief system. You're like, well, then what drives behavior? How do you explain behavior then? Behavior just happens spontaneously? They can't really explain, you know, where our behaviors come from. It's kind of divorced itself from true reality, which is the internal domain. And now it's trying to explain that in this flatland way. And you look at our society, so many of our structures, systems, and so on are based on this thinking. And we wonder why it doesn't work too well. Because it's like, it's insane. How can you deny the internal world that's actually driving the external world? Why do you make decisions then? Even in modern medicine, they kind of somewhat acknowledge the mind now, but you know, in psychiatry, which is their kind of best attempt at it, they're still trying to control the mind with the exterior, because it's drugs. They're using drugs. They're saying, okay, well, it's all chemicals. Chemicals are now the source of our consciousness. It's chemical, so we change the chemicals, and then we'll change the mind, and we'll change the behavior. But again, that's upside down thinking, because the chemicals are the result of the thoughts, not the other way around. And then they reinforce those thoughts, so you can get stuck in a pattern, a feedback loop. But in the end, you've got to change the thoughts. You've got to change the thought system. And then the biochemistry of the body will reflect that. So this lesson, you know, would be particularly challenging for someone who believes in flatland. I'm not a body, I'm free. Because it's not just their body, it's the entire world. The entire world view is being turned upside down in this one statement. I'm not a body, I'm free. It's okay. That's a total turnaround. And the ego obviously has huge resistance to that. Because as long as you believe you're a body, here's its strategy. As long as you believe you're a body and you deny the mind, how can you ever get back to know yourself as a mind if you believe you're a body? You can't. Your true awareness is always going to be blocked by the awareness of the body. And so that's a strategy to keep you in a separated identity, and away, as far away from the awareness that you are mind and only mind as it possibly can. And that's why we've invented the world we have, that's body obsessed, and you know, satisfying the desires of the body seems to be what we're here to do. That's kind of the program, isn't it? No, well, you've got to eat, and you've got to constantly meet the needs of the body, and you've got to dedicate your life to that. So you've got to go work to earn money, to feed the body, to clothe the body, to house the body, to give the body nice experiences, to give it pleasure, to avoid pain, to make the body safe, and on it goes. And that seems to be what our lives are for here, from the body identified state. So one of these ideas, like I'm not a body, I'm free, completely undoes that whole thought system in a few words. It's quite extraordinary, the power of these words. So yeah, most people would find quite a lot of resistance to this, because it's totally turning their existing belief system, perception upside down, challenging everything they've believed in. But that's the genius of these lessons. I mean, you think in such a short, I am not a body, I'm free, right? Two short, simple sentences. What's that? 8 words. In 8 words, you can completely turn your reality upside down if you believe them. So, that's the miraculous power of these words. If you accept them, of course. If you deny them, then they have no power. But Yeah, you got a little glimpse of that on your walk, I think. Okay, so happy with number one?
Yep.
Setting the scene, just saying, look, don't look for freedom in a body where you're not going to find it.
Yep. The mind that serves the Holy Spirit is unlimited forever in all ways, beyond the laws of time and space, unbound by any preconceptions, and with strength and power to do whatever is asked. Attack thoughts cannot enter into such a mind because it has been given to the source of love, and fear can never enter in a mind that has attached itself to love. It rests in God, and who can be afraid, who lives in innocence and only loves? Alternatively, right? Shall I carry on?
Yeah.
The mind that serves the remembrance of perfect love is unlimited forever in all ways, beyond the laws of time and space, unbound by any preconceptions, and with strength and power to do whatever is asked.
Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just trying to feel into it. I didn't feel into that one. That's funny that I can't feel it.
Okay, I'll help you. So just close your eyes. Breathe. And I'll read it. And I'll feel it. And then just tap into my feeling. It's the mind that serves the remembrance of perfect love is unlimited forever, in all ways, beyond the laws of time and space, unbound by any preconceptions, with strength and power to do whatever it is asked. And you feel that, it's like a tingling.
Very
My whole
powerful.
body's tingling. My whole body's tingling.
Yeah, and it's expansive, and yeah, my heart's expanded.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Oh.
Even though the dog was going bananas in the background and scrapping the carpet up and whatever, I could still feel it.
Yeah. Oh, well, it just shows you the power of a shared mind. It doesn't matter that we're not in the same room, we're hundreds of miles apart. It doesn't matter because we talk about it like one mind uniting and in the common goal. So it's quite amazing to experience it.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So if you're with people that don't seem to feel it, as long as I feel it, that's all that matters, isn't it? And that kind of opens up a doorway. Interesting.
Yeah. So if you can feel it, then they might feel it. You become the conduit for that feeling to enter. It's like, okay, so it enters the world through you, and then others can tap into it. It's like a doorway opens in your mind, and that's a doorway other people can access as well. Which is how it works. All the great spiritual teachers, they're just wide open doorways. That's all. They just open their minds and they let the light in and they let it shine through, and then people can access that light in themselves through the spiritual teacher and go, oh wow, and then the danger is, of course, they identify with the body. If they haven't done the mind training, they go, oh, it's the guru, and now we worship the idol figure of the guru. But the true guru is like, no, whatever, don't do that. Don't worship me. I don't want to be worshipped. No, stop. Because it's the presence that you should be accessing, and that's in you. So you don't worship a figure. You don't worship a body or a personality. That's idolatry. You give worth to, you value. In other words, worthship means you give worth to or you value. The presence of perfect love, the essence that is in you, that maybe that spiritual teacher has awoken in you, but it's the same presence as they have. So you don't then. But what typically happens if someone hasn't done the mind training and they haven't been taught this lesson, they're not a body, is the ego hijacks that and goes, oh, it's in the figure of the guru, so now I attach to the guru, or I attach to the body of Christ, or the body of whatever I'm worshipping. In the Hindu tradition, they have all these gods, so now I pray to Shiva, or I pray to Rama, and I have to attach to a body, because the formless awareness is I can't attach to anything, and the mind seeks something to attach to, because that keeps the body identification going. And so it all becomes devolved, from if you look at the Vedas, they talk about Brahman, the infinite, ultimate absolute. Exactly what he's saying here, unlimited forever in all ways, beyond the laws of time and space, unbound by any preconceptions, with strength and power to do whatever is asked. And then it gets devolved because the ego mind can't accept that. And so then we invent like lesser gods, and we go, well, now I'll pray to this God because I can attach faith to that, and I can make an image of it, and I can kind of worship it, and because my mind can now get a hold of that. But it can't get a hold of the pure formless awareness, because there's nothing to hold on to. By definition, there's no limit. It's not finite.
That's interesting. Yeah, something's just shifted inside me. So
Okay.
that's why, Eckhart Tolle's of the world and whatnot kind of don't want to be the focus, do they? They don't want it to be about them. And then as soon as you recognize that connects you up with everybody in the oneness, admitting that everyone hasn't got a body. And I don't know, something just shifted then. I don't know what that was. But that kind of changed something.
Just a little realization. Yeah, well, if there's no body, there's only the presence of this true awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, and that's behind everything, and that's what we share, because there's really no body. Then I'm one with that awareness. Is my awareness. That awareness is everywhere. It's in everyone, and the body cannot separate us, because the body's not true. And any mind idea that I'm a body identification is by definition false. So I'm not going to give it any value. Someone's personality, all of this egoic stuff going on, that's happening in their mind related to the body identification, but you just don't honor it. You don't see it as true or real. You just transcend it. You rise above the battleground. And you go, well, actually, that person is not a body, and they're not a personality. And so whatever they seem to be doing in the dream and acting it out in their body is not real. And so I can just observe all of this and not be moved. They're like a character in a dream. Or another analogy is a movie. That's a movie. They're just a character on the screen, projected onto time and the four-dimensional screen of time and space. And they're this character, and if they're being guided by the ego, then the character is just being guided by this false thought system, and it's acting out all of these false expectations, desires, fears, guilt, whatever it's doing. And none of that's true. It's just a false thought system that's now taken possession of the body, and it's using it for its purposes. So the idea of being possessed, you're possessed by the entity of the ego, which is now using the body to perpetuate its thought system in the world and demonstrate that its thought system is true and real. But the enlightened being just looks beyond all of this and says, no, it's just a character. The body isn't real at all, just a character in a dream. And if the person hasn't come to their true awareness, then they're going to be used by the ego. As Morpheus said in the Matrix, remember, it says, well, as long as these people are plugged in, although we're trying to save them, they are potentially our enemies, because they can be used by the ego for its purposes. They're just still plugged into the Matrix. They haven't disconnected from it. So you're trying to save everyone, but not everyone wants to be saved. In fact, often they're agents of the ego who are trying to sabotage the spirit's work in the world. And this is what you have to deal with as the miracle worker. It's like, okay, well, can you rise above that battleground, and no matter what, stay rooted in the awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, no matter what, and rise above it all. not get sucked into the drama and the battle and the duality of it all.
So that also means that animals don't have bodies. I've just had a fly that keeps landing on my hand. So the fly hasn't got a body, and I had some ants in the kitchen, like the ants don't have a body. It's all an illusion.
So it's a profound lesson. I'm not a body. Well, it means nothing is a body. There are no bodies, right? The body doesn't really exist. The body is a projection of the mind. And quantum mechanics confirms it's like, what is your body? It's nothing. There's nothing there. It's a projection of mind. These atoms and so-called particles whizzing around, but actually there's nothing really there. It's all space. You are a projection of thought. That's all. It's the thought of separation that keeps the whole thing going. It keeps the body intact. So if you let go of the thoughts behind it all, the thought of separation from your source, then the body's going to go. All bodies are going to go. The entire form is going to go. There's no need for form in pure formless awareness. So this is a direct pointer. If I'm not a body, then I'm opening myself up to pure formless awareness. By definition. I'm not a body, well then what am I? Well, I must be pure formless awareness. There's no form, there's no body, no awareness of form. So this is quite a key lesson, really, to really understand.
Very deep. I had these ants in the kitchen the other morning, yesterday, I think it was, and I was telling them they were pure formless awareness of perfect love, and I'd pick a few up and flick them outside, and then I just let it go. I suppose I just changed my mind about it, and then there weren't any. So that was better than putting ant powder down. Yeah, but it's really weird, isn't it, that we put things like ant powder down to kill a part of us that doesn't exist, that's in our mind.
Yeah, it's all a bit bizarre, really. So you see that the ego's insanity is it's made up a problem, invented it, and then tries to solve the problem on that level. And you get all this craziness. Okay, well now you're going to invent ant powder to solve an illusory problem. It doesn't even exist. And this is the world we've invented. Multiple solutions to problems that don't really exist. The only problem is a perceptual problem. You're perceiving a world that's not there. That's the problem. So recognizing this, okay, there are no ants. There is no problem. Well, you're opening yourself up to a solution on a different level, aren't you? Well, there are no ants. If I really believe that, the ants disappear. Okay, problem solved. I don't need to go and buy ant powder then and kill something that's not even really there. Then you got to just laugh when you see the insanity of it. I mean, the ego is just mad. And we take this for sanity. Okay, well, I've got ants, so what I do, go down to the hardware store and buy ant powder. Because that's how you deal, this is how we've been conditioned to think. And it takes this kind of mind training to go, no, break out of the hypnosis of this condition, this collective ego, and just see it differently, perceive it differently. There are no ants. There isn't really a problem. You're making it up. So, drop your attachment to it, and you save yourself. It's like such an easy way to live. You save yourself so much effort. Just drop it, and the problem will go away. You don't have to try and fix it on the level of form. If you just let it go, it'll disappear of its own accord.
Amazing.
Well, this is what he's training us to do. Miracle-minded thinking, miraculous perception opens the way to miracles. And he's saying, this is just so easy compared with how you live. This is just such an easy way to live. Why would you not want to live this way? So much easier, so much less effort and stress, and no stressing, straining, and striving. It's just, let it go and let the solution come. So the solution in every instance is pure formless awareness. So access that state. Let go of the body identification, your own body identification, the identifying with other bodies in the dream, and you access the pure formless awareness. So you now bring it into your mind, and then it inspires you. If you should take an action, it's going to tell you, do this, do that, don't do this. Maybe sometimes you need to do nothing. You don't do anything. You just let it go, and then it just unfolds. And you're then going to the very fundamental root cause of all problems in this world. There's only one problem and only one solution. The problem is you separated from love, and the solution is, well, unite your mind again with that presence of love. That's it. Very, very simple.
Yeah.
But, this very simple, but to really believe that you're not a body when you seem to be living in a body is the task. Okay, I'm not really a body, even though I seem to have one. And I seem to be walking around in one. The body seems to have needs, and even though that all seems to be true, I'm not fooled by it. And then I can be in the world, but not of the world. Kind of floats above the battlegrounds. Okay, so I'm not obsessed, attached to. I don't fear. I don't desire anything of this world because I'm not a body. Just a dream. Just a dream figure in a dream. And that, feels, the ego, that's incredibly frightening, but the spirit, that's like, oh, that's so nice. It's all just a dream. I'm not this crazy character in the dream that seems to be doomed to suffer and die. I'm the awareness that transcends the dream.
I sometimes feel like I'm not interacting with the illusion very much, that I don't have many desires or any desires, and I don't need to go places, have holidays, buy things. It just isn't a desire of mine. I sometimes then think, oh, should I go out there and play in the illusion? Should I just interact a little bit more? But then it's like I'm trying to make something happen that's not natural. It's like trying to be like someone else, going, well, everyone says, you should go out for the day and do something fun. And I'm like, it just doesn't feel fun to me. It just doesn't feel as satisfying as it used to do. So
well, that's freedom of the body. I mean, that's another way people seek freedom in the body. Oh, go somewhere, travel to a nice place, go to a beach or a park or go overseas. That's even more freedom, and that now seems to bring you more freedom temporarily. But wherever you are, there you are. Your awareness goes with you wherever you are. So if you can't stay in pure formless awareness at home, you're probably not likely to be able to stay there when you're away from home. You might get a temporary kind of, oh, that's so nice, I go to a quiet place and it can bring some peace. But if the mind pattern is strong, very soon it's going to return, and you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm just actually doing the same thing here as I did at home because that's my pattern. So don't seek for freedom in the body. One of the quotes I sent out recently was, freedom cannot be traveled to. You can't travel to freedom. You can't go anywhere to get freedom. It's an internal shift. It's freedom in the mind right now, wherever you are. So if you just sit in freedom in your home and you're in that state of pure formless awareness, there's no need to go anywhere. Just there's freedom right there. Like, what other state would you really want? Now, for someone who's still attached to the body, seeking freedom in the body, that doesn't make any sense. Well, why don't you go out, have a nice time? The weather's great. Why are you sitting indoors and just? But they don't really understand that you're not seeking for freedom where it can't be found. Freedom doesn't lie in the body and in sensory experiences that the body brings you. It's not in perception. Freedom lies within, and just quieting your mind, closing your eyes, and doing a meditation can be deeply, deeply satisfying. Much more so than seeking for some kind of freedom in the body outside of yourself. So it's what happens, as you progress on the spiritual path, you become less interested in worldly stuff. It's just, that's how it goes. So why would I go chasing after experiences? Another experience that's going to free the body, when I could just sit in peace wherever I am and be present to this awareness of who I am. And I have that right now. I don't need to go anywhere. So you kind of simplify your life. You stop seeking and you just find that presence in every moment. And then you are, truly satisfied and fulfilled, because that presence is the only thing that's going to fulfill you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So any thoughts on number 2?
I haven't read number 2 yet. Have I?
Did you read? I think you read.
I read half of it.
First. So read the translation. Yeah.
Right. The mind that serves the perfect love is unlimited forever in all ways, beyond the laws of time and space, unbound by any preconceptions, and with strength and power to do whatever it is asked. Attack thoughts cannot enter such a mind because it has been given the source of love, and fear can never enter into a mind that has attached itself to love. It rests in pure formless awareness of perfect love, and who can be afraid who lives in innocence and only loves.
Okay, so any thoughts on that? Anything strike you? Any questions?
Well, it's nice not to have attack thoughts. It's worth staying with the love just to not be disturbed by that, isn't it? With huge benefit. Yeah, just to be in that space, isn't it?
Yeah, so he's telling us some of the benefits. This is what you'll experience: unlimited forever in all ways, beyond the laws of time and space, unbound by preconceptions, strength and power to do whatever it is asked. So you're open to this voice. Then you're open to listen to guidance. And you cannot attack. Attack thoughts cannot enter such a mind. So freedom from attack, that's huge. Freedom from fear, freedom from attack. And this all comes down to body identification. If you identify yourself as a body, you will fear. It's inevitable. You must. You will fear and you will attack others in often seeming self-defense, but that's what body identification does. He's pointing us to the transcendent state where none of these thoughts and emotions can enter our minds anymore.
And then the opposite is that if you've got fear in your mind, then you've lost sight of the source of love. So that can be a wake-up call, can't it? If you're feeling any fear at all, you've lost your true self for a moment.
Yeah, fear is a sign that you've misidentified. You've identified with the body again, and so it's the canary in the gold mine. Okay, so that's a warning. So use it to bring you back to your true awareness. No, I'm not a body, so I need not fear anything if I'm not a body, because whatever happens with the body, in the body, to the body, it's not real. So how can I fear an apparent consequence that's happening to something that's unreal? Just seems to be real. It's a very cunning illusion, very persistent illusion. It seems to be real, but that's all. So this lesson, you can always bring it back and say, well, I'm not a body, I'm free. And in the next series, in the review we're going to do, he uses it every day. I'm not a body, I'm free. I'm still as God created me. To remind you over and over again, actually, this is the truth.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll give a little summary of number 2. We'll move on. What's he saying there in summary?
That when you're resting in pure love, you will have no fear and no attack thoughts. And you'll have all the benefits of unlimited, beyond time and space. Freedom.
And you felt that when we went in there. Like, so that's the universal experience he's talking about. It's like actually experiencing that. The words just point you to the experience of an unlimited state of being, which is the ultimate destination. So you get a little glimpse. We're trying to give us is glimpses of this, and then open the door wider and wider, so that the glimpse becomes bigger and bigger until eventually it's just like the door's wide open. It's just flooding in, and the glimpses become our whole reality. Who's afraid who lives in innocence and only loves? So true. How could you be afraid of anything if you're innocent?
Yep.
Nothing to be afraid of. So there's no other thought system. There's no thought system of punishment and death. There's only this love. Okay, so happy with number 2?
Yeah.
So number 3, not much translations. Everyone just translate the read the alternative.
It is essential for your progress in this course that you accept today's idea and hold it very dear. Be not concerned that to the belief in separation, it is quite insane. Belief in separation holds the body dear because it dwells in it and lives united. Oops, my screen's gone blank. Hang on. It goes on standby after a while. Well, there we go. And lives united with the home that it has made. It is a part of the illusion that has sheltered it from being found illusionary itself. It's essential for your progress in this course to accept today's idea and hold it very dear. Not be concerned that to the belief in separation, it is quite insane. The belief in separation holds the body dear because it dwells in it and lives united with the home it has made. It is a part of the illusion that has sheltered it from being found illusionary itself. Yeah. Okay.
So he's telling you exactly the relationship between the ego and the body. So it dwells in it. The ego is made, the belief in separation has made the body its home. It's identified with it. This is your home, lives united with the home that it has made. So the body and the ego work hand in glove. When people say, oh, my body wants this. No, it's your ego wants it. Ego identifying with the body wants it. And yet the belief is not true. See, the belief is what's behind the body. The body is not causative. It's the belief in the mind that's causative, that then projects that belief out and miscreates the body. And that causation is really important to understand. Because if you think that the body came first, that you're a body, that's your ultimate reality. You're a body, and your brain is the source of your consciousness. Then you believe that the ego is in charge by default. That the belief in separation is true and real, and you don't even question it. So the scientific materialist paradigm is the belief that the body is the ultimate reality. That's who we are. That's our only identity, and therefore our entire lives should be about meeting the body's needs. That's the scientific materialist paradigm. You go, what a shallow existence that is. Just meeting the body's needs. And then eventually the body's going to die anyway. So then you go, well, what was the point? You're going to meet the body's needs for 70, 80, 90 years, and then it's going to die anyway. So what is the point of the whole thing? That's what life is about. So it's kind of devoid of meaning. It's a meaningless thought system that can provide no deeper meaning, which is why there's such a yearning, for spiritual teachings in this barren, wasteland, as T.S. Eliot would call it, the wasteland of the ego, scientific materialism. People are seeking it because it doesn't provide meaning. There's no meaning there. How can you find meaning if you're just a body? Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, no satisfaction in the illusion. Yeah, and meeting the needs of the body can be a full-time job. Then you're just missing the whole point, aren't you?
Yeah, and you think if someone is rooted in the scientific materialist paradigm, and they dedicate their life to, paying their bills. My sister, her mantra in life is, "I got to pay my bills." I mean, that's just so that's what it's all about. That's the number one priority in your life. That's now body identification. Pay my bills so that I can meet the needs of the body. Feed it, clothe it, house it, and that's the number one thing in life. And this is actually the dominant paradigm on the planet. It's the dominant religion, scientific materialism. It's just not, people don't go to church to worship this. They go to shopping malls and they shop online. That's where that's where they're worshiping the idea. In the commercial world, we've made up. Whenever they go and they try and meet the needs of the body, they're worshiping the idea they're a body. So it's a very antithesis of the capitalistic, scientific, materialist world the ego's invented. This undoes it all. This one statement, "I'm not a body, I'm free," undoes all of that. If you think of the resurrection, that was really the message of the resurrection, crucifixion, resurrection. Yeshua played it out to show people, I'm not a body, I'm free. I'm not limited by the seeming constraints of the body. They tried to kill me, but they couldn't. They tried to put me in a tomb, they couldn't. They can't hold my body because my spirit is free. And the spirit is primary, and the body will follow the direction of the mind, inspired by the spirit.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, number 4.
The pre or the alternative? Which one?
I think just read the alternative. There's not a lot of translations, so just read the alternative.
Here does it hide, and here can it be seen as what it is. Declare your innocence, and you are free. The body disappears because you have no need of it except the need of the remembrance of perfect love sees. Except the need the remembrance of perfect love sees. For this, the body will appear as useful form for what the mind must do. It thus becomes a vehicle which helps forgiveness be extended to the all-inclusive goal that it must reach according to perfect love's plan. I think I might have to go through that slowly. Hang on. Here does it hide, and here it can be seen as what it is. Okay. Declare your innocence and you are free. Yeah. The body disappears because you have no need of it except the need the remembrance of perfect love sees. What does that mean?
The body disappears because you have no need of it except the need, the remembrance of perfect love. Then we should make that perceives.
Just the last bit. The need, the remembrance of love perceives. What's the need?
Well, what do you think he's referring to?
Coming home to our true selves?
Yeah, our only need is to awaken. So the body can be quite useful for that purpose if we use it for that purpose.
Okay.
So the body can connect us with minds. Through the body, we can speak, we can act. The body allows you to sit there on a couch and manipulate your computer, and so it can be useful for the only purpose, which is awakening. And that means at one-ment. You're using the body now instead of to confirm a separate identity. You're using the body to help you learn the truth of oneness. So the body is a communication device. Other parts of the course in the text, he says the only purpose of the body is it's a communication device. That's what it's there for. So use it to communicate the truth of oneness, and that's the need that the Holy Spirit, or the remembrance of perfect love, perceives in it. That it's going to be used for your awakening to this truth and for others. So through the body, you can travel places, you can speak to people, you can do kind acts. It can be very helpful in this plan of awakening for the Holy Spirit, if you use it only for that purpose.
Yeah, use the body, but don't imagine you are the body. Just use it.
Yeah. So a good analogy is it's like a vehicle. You have a car. Well, you don't think you're the car. Most people don't. Some people still get deluded about that, and they want to buy fancy cars because they identify with it. But the car is just a vehicle to get you from A to B. You need to travel somewhere. The car is useful. But when it's parked in your drive, it has no use at all. It's only a useful vehicle. So in the same way, the body is useful as a communication device. And all of its other purposes, all of its other, functions should be subordinate to that. So, okay, you're going to feed the body and you're going to clothe it and you're going to keep it, healthy, because then it's going to function optimally as a communication device. If the body is sick and broken, then how are you going to use that to communicate effectively? So you don't do these things for the body itself. You don't go, oh, well, I'm looking after my body because my body is my reality, and I've got to look after the body because I'm actually scared that the body could get sick and die. You do it because you want your body to be in tip-top shape for its purpose, which is to be a communication device. And so the purpose has changed. You might do the same thing. You look after the body, but the underlying purpose is different. It's not fear-based, it's love-based.
Yeah, so you're not trying to fix the body. You're just using it as a device. Let me just thinking out loud here. So if the body's broken, it's our mind that's broken, isn't it? So
yeah, and if you're sick, the body doesn't serve you particularly well in your function of communicating the truth of oneness, does it? Imagine if I was like this sickly, decrepit figure. I'm going, no, I believe in oneness, and it doesn't really work, does it? It hampers your ability to communicate the truth. So you need to have the body in a healthy, functional state to if you're going to be a teacher of God and demonstrate the truth. Imagine if you were always sick and your clients are coming to you for healing. It's not going to work, is it? So your body needs to support the mind, and that's its only function. And then the body will, if the mind is on purpose, the mind's awakening, the body will follow because the mind is directing it. And sickness just it's not something that's useful. So it just disappears. So as long as the purpose is the body identification, then sickness has a purpose. So then sickness comes often to people who are body identified, because it makes them identify more with their body. Oh, I'm sick. And now I really identify with the body, because it all become, okay, I've got to treat this, and I've got to go to the specialist, and I've got to get my medication, and the mind becomes consumed with meeting the body's needs on that level. So it's a very cunning device, sickness and age, and all of the weakness of the body, for getting the mind to identify with the body and deny its true awareness in the process. And that's why we've invented a body that is so weak and fragile and can age and get sick and die, because it's useful for the ego's purposes, for it to do that.
Bit about looking after the body. If ultimately it's not real and we don't really need to feed it or sleep or breathe and all that, but we need to do that because we believe we need to do it, right? So when we feed the body, we're feeding the body because we've got a belief we need to feed the body, keep it well. So what am I saying? So it just depends on your belief systems, isn't it? How you treat your body and how you maintain your body. Ultimately, it's all in the mind.
Yeah. So a lot of these, yogis, they can do extraordinary things. They don't eat for weeks on end. Some of them, breatharians. They're getting energy from other sources. They don't need energy from food or water. So, this is all possible. I believe it is. But again, don't get attached to that as a form. Oh, well, I need to be breatharian because now you identified with the form. Again, I'm now resisting eating or not eating. It's like, okay, well, don't make it into a big thing. It's just, it's not a big deal. It's like eat when you need to, when there's food around, and if there's not food, that's okay. You don't need to eat. It's like, and so like I just do that all the time. It's just the way I live. It's like I fast, and it's not like, oh, I'm, you see the dangers. You make it into a practice. Oh, okay, well, now on this day I'm going to fast, and it's like a 24-hour fast. You've kind of created some kind of thing in the mind where it's not just in flow. It's not just happening. And now it becomes a practice and it becomes a ritual. And then the mind can go, oh God, now I've got to fast again. It's my 24-hour, and it becomes a burden. Whereas if you're just like, okay, well, just flow with it, whatever. There's food, there's not food. Eat if I'm hungry. If I don't, if there's not food going, I don't eat, and it's really not a problem if I don't eat for a day. And then food is around, then I eat again. It's all happening in flow, and there's no kind of, you're not identifying with the body. Oh, I need to have food now because or I need to fast now. You see, so the danger is you can actually, in some spiritual practices like fasting, you can make the body even more important in your mind through that practice, which is not the purpose of the practice. So no, I need to fast, for the health of the body. I need to fast because, this is a good idea. It's gonna help my body. It's gonna help me be healthier. And there's all this form-oriented stuff that goes on. Oh, well, intermittent fasting is better for you, or no, it's better to fast for 2 days, or but it's all about the body then, and it's not about the mind. And so again, you misidentified yourself in the practice. Whereas if you just go, well, actually, I intermittently fast just because that's how it flows, and I'm not really making a big deal of it, and I'm not really attached to the body's needs, then you can meet those needs without making them into an identification. That's really what this is saying. So you can eat and you can drink and you can exercise and you can do all those things, but without identifying that as you. It's like you're just servicing the vehicle. See it as like, okay, the vehicle needs to be, a car needs petrol or diesel, it needs some oil, it needs water, it needs to go for service every now and then. Otherwise, it doesn't work too well. We understand that with the vehicle. So the same thing with the body. Okay, it needs to be serviced, watered, fed, keep the body functional so that it can serve you well. And that's all it's there for.
Yeah.
Without over-identifying with it.
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, I've got some friends that live on light and don't eat, and I like the idea of it. But yeah, I can hear what you're saying. That's like comes a goal and an expectation.
Cool. Yeah, and then it becomes an identity. Oh, I'm a breatharian. Oh, aren't I so special because I'm a breatharian now? And now I've given myself a form identity again, based on breathing, which isn't even true anyway. As Morpheus said, do you think that's air you breathing? It's like, really? If it's all projection of the mind, we think we're breathing our own projection. And we think that that process is keeping us alive. It's a bizarre belief, really. How can that be? If you are pure formless awareness, you are eternal life. How can it be that you need to breathe to keep you alive? It's got to be false. So you just see through it all. Yeah, okay, well, on a practical level, I can eat and I can breathe and I can do, it's like, but it's not really me. It's just like the vehicle. It's the avatar. If you watch the movie Avatar, which I recommended a couple of weeks ago, it's that kind of idea. The only thing that enlivens that body is the mind. That's what brings it to life. Otherwise, it's just this kind of inert thing doing its thing. But it's the mind that it brings it the life essence that enlivens that. It allows the body to be useful for a higher purpose. So yeah, it's a really, it's a profound lesson, as they all are. I mean, they're all profound. But I'm not a body, I'm free. And he tells you, because in the review that will be coming up, he uses the phrase over and over and over again. He's saying we're going to repeat this, like for the next 10 lessons. I'm not a body, I'm free. Well, I'm still as God created me. And the one is necessary for the other. I have to say I'm not a body, I'm free, in order for me to say I am as God created me. The two go together. You must deny the body in order to be pure formless awareness and perfect love. Okay, so you want to summarize number 4? What do you get out of that? What do you understand about that?
The body's a vehicle, and don't identify with it. And the body is, I suppose, in a way, neither here nor there, but it's our experience through it that's important.
This becomes a vehicle. So my internet connection is unstable. So I'm going to change forgiveness here to letting go. It helps letting go to be extended to the all-inclusive goal that it must reach according to the perfect love's plan. Okay, so moving on to number 5.
Cherish today's idea and practice it today and every day. Make it a part of every day, every practice period. There's no thought that will not gain thereby power to help the world, and none that will not gain in added gifts to you as well. We sound the call of freedom around the world with this idea. Or would you be exempt from the acceptance of the gifts you give? Funny way of putting it, but yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we can do some translation. So cherish today's idea and practice it today and every day. So he's saying, this is a key idea. He's saying this is one of the key ideas of the workbook. Today and every day. He's asking you to practice it every day. That's why he includes it in the review, in the overriding statement. Make it a part of every practice period you take. There's no thought that will not gain thereby in power. How about by doing this? There's no thought that will not gain in power. Through this. To help the world. It will not gain in power. Will not gain. No thought that will not gain through this in power. It will not gain in power. It will not increase in power, really. I think that's probably increase in power. What do you think? Is that better?
in
will
my,
not increase.
I think people get confused about the word power. People think of power as being a destructive power, don't they? But this means true power. I don't know if we could put true power in there, or
Power to help the world. Well, I mean, it's been very clear here. Power to help the world is define what that power is. Increase through this practice.
Practicing power.
Its power. There's no thought that will not increase through this practice in its power to help the world.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sounds a bit better, I think. Yeah? Sometimes it's a bit awkward, some of the expressions. None which will not gain in added gifts to you as well. Again, it's a bit clumsy.
What does it mean by added gifts?
No thoughts which will not gain in added gifts to you. So, no thought. It will not no thought that will not bring you more gifts.
When it says more gifts, it means peace and freedom and those type of gifts.
Yeah, he's always referring to the spiritual primarily. But if your mind's changed like that, you're living the fullness of life, the abundance of life, then who knows what happens? You've just changed the frequency, you've changed the energy of your life. All kinds of different things happen. You start opening up to synchronicities, miracles, opportunities, people, places, circumstances, events rearrange themselves because you're in a different state of mind. And so he's saying this thought, you're not a body, it will not bring you more gifts. And it's a pretty foundational thought. If you think of what worries us most in this world, it's often related to money, which is providing for the needs of the body, isn't it? What is money? Money is a symbol of the material providing for the body's needs, food and clothing and shelter and all these sort of basic needs. And so by letting go of the idea that I'm a body, honoring only the spirit, you start letting go of that whole construct of money driving you, and you're doing things for money, and this is the only reason you're doing it, and you have to survive, and you have to pay your bills, and on and on and on. And you're coming full circle to the start. When I shared that story, like really, that was when I let go, it was I'm not identifying myself as a body. The mind identified as the body was, oh no, you need that money because that money represents food and clothing and shelter and travel and all the things you can do in the body. And when you let that go and you say no, I'm not going to honor that level, then I'm by definition honoring the spirit. So it's as he says, it's a primary idea behind all the letting go, and it can really bring you some miraculous gifts if you will apply it and add it into every other thought. So whatever thought you have, you add saying, well, remember, I'm not a body, I'm free. That can only enhance that thought. It will go pretty much with any other lesson in the course. And no thought that it's So how about that? No thought that when added to by this idea will not bring you more gifts.
Yeah.
2 double negatives. And every thought when added to by this idea that when how about enhanced by this idea. Instead of a double negative, what do you think? There's no thought that will not increase through this practice and its power to help the world. And every thought that when enhanced by this idea, and any thought, when enhanced by this idea will bring you more gifts.
Yeah, that's clearer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So make it into a positive rather than a double negative.
Mm.
So, and any thought, enhanced by this. So any thought, when enhanced by this idea, will bring you more gifts. Yeah, I think that's quite nice and succinct and clear. Okay, so you can add this idea into any other thoughts and it's going to enhance gifts that you experience. Gifts or benefits?
Yeah, I was confused by the word gifts, wasn't I?
Bring you more benefits.
Yeah.
So on the call of freedom around the world with this idea, would you be exempt from acceptance of the gifts you give?
Benefits you.
And do you really want to exempt yourself from acceptance of the gifts you give? Acceptance of Okay, do you want to read it from the top? Does it make sense?
Today's idea and practice it today and every day. Make it a part of every day, every practice period you take. There is no thought that will not increase through this practice in its power to help the world. So any thought, when enhanced by this idea, will bring you more benefits. We sound the call of freedom around the world with this idea. Do you really want to exempt yourself from the acceptance of the benefits you give?
How about I think that through it kind of ties the whole thing up nicely, doesn't it? What do you think?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I've got
Quite
another.
powerful idea. Let's say I'm not a body. If someone's suffering in the body, you go, just remind yourself, I'm not a body. I'm free. So I'm free of this pain, this suffering. And just that idea, if someone's open to it, can be like, oh, wow, yeah, actually, I'm not a body. Open up their minds to the truth.
Yeah. I've got another call to go on at 3 o'clock.
Okay. So we have a couple of paragraphs. There's 8. Where are we? Number 5. So do you want to do number 6 and then we'll go into meditation?
Okay. The remembrance of perfect love is the home of minds that seek for freedom. In it, they have found that what they have sought. The body's purpose now is unambiguous. and it becomes perfect in the ability to serve an undivided goal. In conflict-free and unequivocal response to mind, with but the thought of freedom as its goal, the body serves and serves its purpose well. Without the power to enslave, it is a worthy servant of the freedom which the mind, within the remembrance of perfect love, seeks.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thoughts? Just going to change that to a mind that remembers. Again, it's simpler. The mind that remembers perfect love seeks.
I hadn't really thought that people do seek for freedom, but, you know, this is obviously clearly saying it is so. I hadn't really noticed that that was something on my agenda. I always felt like I was seeking peace, but that's probably the same thing, isn't it? That you can't have peace with an ego.
Well, remember the words freedom, peace, love, joy. They're all pointers to the transcendent dimension that is beyond name. So whether you call it freedom or peace or love or joy or pure formless awareness or essence or presence or God or Brahman, it doesn't matter. It's a state of mind that people are seeking, because we know somehow, because we were once in that state of pure formless awareness and everything was perfect, and now we're not. Our mind remembers. There's still that remembrance of that state where everything was perfect, and so the mind seeks it. And we've kind of denied it and we've forgotten it, and so long forgotten that we don't consciously remember it. But all of our seeking is actually about seeking that state, that long forgotten state. Yeshua calls it the forgotten song.
I wonder when that begins then. Does that begin from the point of birth, or does that begin when, you know, a child's about 8 or something, when they suddenly realize that they're separate? And I don't know. I wonder when that starts.
Well, it's ongoing. You know, before birth in the womb, before you conceived, you're still seeking. You only incarnate because you are lacking, missing the truth. You're still seeking for something. So you come here to seek some kind of salvation, to seek something externally, because that's the mind's program. And so you incarnate to do that. But actually all that seeking is the mask for what you're really seeking, which is your own true awareness, which of course is right there. You didn't really need to come into a body to seek that awareness. It would be much better to stay in the mind. But we're seeking externally to this program. And then in that seeking, if we learn to train the mind in the human existence, that if that seeking is directed properly, we're now seeking the truth. We're seeking to find the truth in this illusion. And so the purpose of our life becomes to seek and find the ultimate truth in a dream world that we've enslaved ourselves into. That's the hero's journey. And so our body becomes a servant of that. If our mind is dedicated to that single purpose of awakening, then the body will simply serve that purpose. And it'll serve it well. Speaking from my own experience, I mean, I look at what my body's capable of doing compared with, say, my peers, my family, who are similar age. I mean, like, it's chalk and cheese. It's like, how do I do it? Well, I do it because it's the spirit that's directing it. I have a transcendent purpose. I'm not just seeking to meet the body's needs and gratify short-term desires. It's about the body is now useful for this communication of the truth. And so the body then serves that purpose, and you're able to do things that other people can't, because they're trapped in that body identification state, and that's a very limiting state of mind. So that's what happens. You just expand the limits, and the body can do a lot more than it would otherwise be able to do, because well, you have a higher purpose. It needs to be able to do a lot more. So then you get the abilities you need. And so that's how you upgrade yourself. You don't seek it for the sake of seeking, oh, well, I want power in the body. You go, no, what is useful for fulfilling my purpose? And then the Spirit gives you those abilities to do, and everything's dedicated towards the purpose of awakening. So even, some of these fakirs and yogis and mystics, they get obsessed with the powers, the siddhis in the body. Oh, well, I can levitate, or I can sit on a bed of nails and not harm myself. And it becomes about that rather than about the awakening to that which is beyond the body. And then that's the ego that's corrupted that power, and it's using it for its purpose. And then they'll often use it for, oh, well, look at how special I am, and they'll get followers, and people will pay them money because they've got these special abilities. But it's not really being directed for the real purpose of those abilities, which is awakening. They become they're just doing magic tricks and showing off and using it to aggrandize the body and the ego, rather than for the only purpose it's there for, which is awakening. So the ego can hijack even so-called spiritual abilities. Got to watch out, because it can hijack those and go, oh, well, now it'll try and use those for its purposes, and not for the purposes of awakening. Specialness, anything that's making you special, it's your mind's using it to distinguish you from others. Oh, I'm so special because I can do this and other people can't do it. That's ego, because you're not seeing the at-one-ment anymore, and you're not seeing the true purpose of the body, which is to be a servant of the mind that's awakening.
That's interesting. I hadn't really clocked that we come here seeking. That's the whole process. So that's interesting. I kind of
from
thought,
day one.
Yeah, I kind of thought you came in innocent as a child. You might have had some karma to work through, but I wasn't really thinking through to that extent. So that's really helpful. Yeah.
Well, karma is the mind pattern that you have, and that mind pattern makes you seek externally. So then the Buddha notices, well, everyone's seeking and craving and not finding. That's kind of the pattern of human life. When you think of, we come in as a newborn baby, we immediately have needs. The moment we're born, we have a need. Well, we've got to be comforted. We've got to be kept warm. We've got to be comforted. We want love then. Very soon we're going to want food. We're going to want, like a whole lot of needs suddenly unfold, which weren't there before. So it's kind of built into the whole construct of human life from the very start. We desire, we're constantly trying to get our needs met. And that happens from the moment of birth. In the womb, you could say, well, it's all provided. It's like the perfect environment. Everything's there, unless, of course, there's something that goes wrong with the umbilical cord, and then obviously that can also go pear-shaped. But if it's a normal pregnancy, it's like, okay, everything's fine. In the womb, no needs, they're all being met. And then suddenly, like, what a shock. You come out, it's like, oh my God. Like suddenly this nice, comfortable, warm environment is gone. The waters break and come out and jolted into this reality. And it's all a bit shocking. No wonder they cry. It's like, put me back there. And the birth, if you know about the rebirthing, the birth is the first trauma that we experience in this world, because it's a traumatic leaving of that kind of safe, secure environment of the womb, and now we literally push out, like rejected from this body into this big cold world where you really don't know what's going on, and now we have a whole lot of needs that have to be met, and as a baby we're powerless to meet them. Wow. It's when I held my son, because my wife had a cesarean, so she was still knocked out. I was like, oh my God, this is shocking. It wasn't like, oh wow. I was really like, oh my God, I did this 42 years ago. I did this. I was a helpless baby. I could have been dropped on my head and I would have had no control over it. Like, what that sheer helplessness of that infant really struck me. It's like, why would you put yourself into that position of being totally vulnerable, totally at the effects of a world, and you have no control over it? And if you happen to be born to parents who don't care, well, sorry for you, you're going to suffer. Like, why would we do that to ourselves? Could only be the victim mindset that wants you to do that. So that was a big wake up call. It was like, okay, it's like it really showed me, this is what's happening. This dream world you're born, it's not nice, and it's it's so nice, baby. No, God, they've just come into an illusion, destined for a life of struggle and suffering and having to constantly meet their needs, and then eventually they die. This is the, oh my God, like, what have we done? So they say at both ends of the scale, birth and death, you can learn profound lessons, because both they are portals to the other dimension. So whenever you come into contact with them, there's potential for awakening. Okay, so shall we do a quick meditation? You've got to go in 9 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so just making yourself comfortable. Sitting feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. Start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. So you just observe all these body sensations without identifying with them. They are not you, they're just happening, they're temporary movements, sense perceptions, coming and going, blowing through the mind. Remind yourself that I'm not a body. I'm not any of these sense perceptions. I'm not the thoughts. I'm not the emotions that underlie them. I'm the pure formless awareness of perfect love. And I am free in that awareness. So exhale. Have a sense of just releasing. Let go with the breath of any thoughts and any emotions that seem to increase your identification with your body. Letting go of body thoughts, they're called. When you let go of body thoughts, then you raise the mind up to its true level, the level of mind, of formlessness. So just breathing in and out through your nose, let that just happen automatically, observe it. For a few breaths, just set the breath in motion. Notice the stomach rising, chest rising, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Notice the touch of the breath, the area just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip, as it flows in and then as it flows out. So you just observe the breath to bring you into the present moment. So in the present moment, you come into true awareness, your pure, formless awareness. So just allow that awareness to arise. In that awareness, you're free. Yeshua says, be free today. And carry freedom as your gift to those who still believe they are enslaved within a body. Be you free. Be free, so that the remembrance of perfect love can make use of your escape from bondage. To set free the many who perceive themselves as bound and helpless and afraid. Let love replace their fears through you. Accept awakening now. Give your mind to this presence which calls you to make this gift to itself. So feel that presence now. Breathe it in. Nice deep breath in. To every pore, every cell of your body is enlivened by this presence. This is the life. It gives life to the body. Without this awareness, this presence, there would be no life in the body. When the awareness leaves the body, then we call it death. The body dies. So have a sense that this awareness underlies all of the operations of the body, every cell, every muscle, every function of the body is being supported, underpinned by this presence, this awareness of life itself. For it would give you perfect freedom, perfect joy, and hope. It finds its full accomplishment in pure formless awareness of perfect love. So sink into this perfect freedom, perfect joy. There's nowhere else to go, there's nothing else to do, just surrender into this presence, experience it for a minute of deep silence. You are God's Son. You are perfect love's extension. You live in immortality forever. Would you not return your mind to this? So do that now. Just give your mind over to this presence of life itself, perfect love. It's all the same, just words, pointers to this presence. Allow it to come into your memory. Bless you and bless the world. So surrender into it for a minute of deep silence. Say, I'm not a body, I am free. I hear the voice. Pure formless awareness of perfect love has given me. It is only this my mind obeys. And with that invitation, just rest in this awareness. Another minute of deep silence. And so just coming back gently in this deep state into the body. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, breathing in, connecting with the breath again, noticing the subtle sensations of the breath, energy rising up into the crown of your head. Pause, scan your mind. Any thoughts there, any emotions, sensations in the body, just observe them and let them go as you exhale. 2, releasing the breath, feel the air and the energy subsiding. Resting for a few moments in pure formless awareness, in the stillness, the gap between breaths. You can really access this deep stillness in your mind. And now on the count of 3, you open your eyes. So just take 30 seconds to look around, orient yourself back into the world. Notice what you're seeing, feeling, touching, tasting, and observing all these things, these sense perceptions from a deeper state of awareness. pure formless awareness, perfect love that underlies all of your sense perceptions. So stay rooted in that awareness for the rest of the afternoon and on into the evening by practicing today's lesson. Bring it to mind frequently. It's a very simple idea. I'm not a body, I'm free. And if you have a little bit of time, 5 minutes, listen to the breath break that I've sent you to guide you through in a more formal practice period. And once more, do a longer practice period this evening using one of the longer meditations I've posted, and I will post an evening meditation as well shortly. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and this afternoon session. So thanks very much, Sally, for joining. And anyone who's listening to the recording, I hope you enjoyed that. And do join us this evening. There's an evening session from 8:30 when we're going to be meditating on and reading the text. So hope to see them at 8:30 UK time, 9:30 time. And I wish you good practicing and much love and peace. In the meantime, namaste.